let's get into it and talk first about some of the guys that we are keying after, some of these guys that we're looking at and trying to get. And the first being a wide receiver. We just had some wide receivers leave. I believe we've got 4 wide receivers in the portal right now. We just lost Farouk to the portal, which really sucks to see him go. Nick Anderson announcing that he was going to leave, J.J. Hester going on, and also Jacques Petaway. So, those are the 4 that, as of right now, as I'm recording this, the only 4 that I know of. I might be forgetting someone on that list, but still, losing some wide receivers in a position group that we really couldn't afford to lose this season. And of course, a lot of those guys didn't even really play for us this season because of injuries. Really tough to see them go, though. But we are going after a QB turned into a wide receiver. That's why on the overlay you'll see it says QB/wide receiver, because he was a quarterback at Indiana and transitioned over to wide receiver, did really well there and moved his way over, and that's Donaven McCulley. He did visit Norman on Monday, which was awesome news to see. That he visited, and apparently from what we heard, the visit went pretty well. We are competing with Michigan because he did visit Michigan just before coming to Norman, so that's something that you've got to kind of have a little bit of a competition there, and that's part of the game, right? That's part of the transfer portal. It's very similar to recruiting, recruiting high school players, but now you've got more of a proven commodity in some ways. And so you might be able to offer them a little bit more in NIL. You might try to weigh that in. And that's the biggest thing that I think we have a disadvantage of, is I think Michigan is willing to put much more into their NIL collective than I think Oklahoma's been open about. But like I said, that's something that Oklahoma is working on, something that Oklahoma is pushing forward and trying to drop as much into that NIL collective as they possibly can. So for Donaven McCulley, this is a guy that absolutely love to see him coming in. He visits, he visited Norman, and from what we know, visit went pretty well. Everything seemed like maybe we have a pretty good shot. First of all, McCulley is a 6'5" wide receiver. He would be coming in as a wide receiver, but just to mention that he used to be a quarterback, and a pretty decent quarterback, not a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, anything like that, but he was a pretty good quarterback. I like that for the option of throwing him out there in that wide receiver screen turned into a pass, just keeping that kind of in the back of our minds. Of course, thinking way too far ahead because he's not even signed with the school or anything. But McCulley, he was in the transfer portal last season, and Oklahoma actually made a push to go get him. And he ended up deciding to return to IU, which turned out to be a pretty good one for him. They had a really good season, 11 wins. He got a lot of excitement out of that just by him going back to IU. But even before bowl season, he decided to go back into the portal to try to put his name out there and say, hey, I want to be one of the first guys taken off the list, off of this board. He did have a strong interest last transfer portal season, about this time of year last year, when, we were trying to recruit him, and we'd built up a pretty strong relationship and a little bit there with him. He had a pretty strong interest in coming to Oklahoma, ended up deciding to take his name out of the portal. And of course, right now, like I said, a big one that we are competing with right now is Michigan, trying to compete with them a little bit in what we might be able to offer him. So that's one that I'm really hopeful on. I think that's one of the bigger wide receivers, because he's productive and he's very efficient in the way that he runs routes. He's a speedy guy, and like I said, 6'4", 190 pounds. He's a pretty big dude. That's what you want. Out of a 6'5", 203 pounds, even bigger than what I was thinking. I kind of jumped ahead of my notes to another wide receiver that we're looking at. But so McCulley, absolutely, one of those guys that we would love to see come to Norman. I think he's one that's very high up on the boards, and obviously one that we brought in for a visit already. So very excited to see him, and maybe we might be able to pull him out of the portal. Hey Sooner fans, did you enjoy this video? Well, go ahead and hit that like button, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. What are you doing if you've made it this far and haven't already? You should be able to find that subscribe button over here. And then if you want to see full episodes, we've got those up here, and clips right down here. So go check that out. But we thank you all so much for all the love, all the support. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.